You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 157 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network. Brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, and Equestrian Plus. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocation's Racehorse Adoption Program.
We're back from vacation and kicking off with our Making the Makeover rider, Sam Fawcett, to get the inside scoop on how she likes to structure her training program for her off the tracks. We catch up with New Vocation's Bridget Heasley with a training tip on keeping horses hydrated in our adoptable horse of the week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr, Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you are listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Kristen, I know listeners couldn't tell we were on vacation because we're
so smooth. So smooth.
So smooth, but
so smooth.
How was vacation for you? You had
it was off. Yeah, it was like a type 2 vacation. You know, like type 1 fun is like you go sit on a beach or go to the theme park. And then type 2 is like, that was a lot of physical work, but it was really fun. So like horse showing is usually a type 2 thing. So yeah, we went backpacking in Wyoming for 6 days or so.
I was living vicariously through your pictures.
It was lovely. Yes. If you would like to read a bunch of trip recaps, I did like a one reel a day kind of recappy thing on my Instagram at the Horseback Writer. So go check that out. The very short version is like, it was our week with the elk. So we saw elk every day. We saw a moose, cow, and calf. We saw wolves, which was really cool. Everyone was like, oh my God, did you feel threatened? And they like absolutely were not threatening. They were just curious about what the tent was. So they were just like passing through the valley, so that was really neat to like
Sounds
open
like
the
a
tent
Disney
flap.
Princess moment to me.
It was very Disney Princess because we were in like the most beautiful valley I've ever been in my life, and it was extremely remote. It was a pack horse trail. I'm not telling anyone where it was. It was Wyoming. That's as specific as I'd like to be at this time. So
yes, protect it.
Protecting that space. It is on public land, so it is available to everyone. And if you're very, very nice to me, I might tell you where it is. But very nice. So. Yeah, I've traveled a lot because then actually I was just in Saratoga last week for RRP. So we've had.
What were you doing down there?
Well, we did. It's a good opportunity to get our board together because a lot of people in the board are racing professionals and everybody's in Saratoga a lot for the summer. And there's a sale that just wrapped up. It was Whitney weekend, so there was a big race day. So there was, it was a good opportunity to get everybody in one place. So we did strategic planning, which if you've ever worked for a nonprofit or been involved with a nonprofit, at some point you definitely do strategic planning. And it is a lot of like heavy duty, big picture brain thinking. So that was like a little bit of a tiring day, but it was very worthwhile and like really good conversations with our board, good conversations with people in the industry. And we had a really good facilitator to help us through that. So that was really productive. Then the next day we had a 15th anniversary party for our RP because it is our 15th anniversary year and we are just really bad at celebrating ourselves. So that was really nice just to like talk to people who were happy for us. So, I mean, you're on a nonprofit board, like it's not always easy to actually like look back and like celebrate the work that you've done because you just keep your head down and keep working. So, so that was nice. And then on Friday, we had a table at the track in the community booth. So we talked to a lot of people, sort of like spread the word on our mission with racing fans. We had a signed Kentucky Derby saddle towel signed by Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott, who trained Sovereignty, the winner. So that we raffled that off. That was really cool because actually Junior came by himself and bought a bunch of raffle tickets for his own saddle towel. So we all took a selfie with him and that was really fun. And then we are doing this new thing. So if you guys are at the makeover this fall, you can participate in this. It's this giant banner and it says "We Heart TBs" on it. And for a donation or a store purchase, you can fill out a sticker about a thoroughbred you love. So we're like, Junior, do you want to fill one out? And he filled one out for sovereignty, which I thought was really sweet. Like, it was very touching that he filled this out, signed his name and was like, and there's a space that says, why do you love this horse? And he said, he gave me my first Derby win. And I was like, how freaking cool is that? That the jockey came to sign that. So that was really neat. It was just fun to interact with, people in the racing industry because we don't always get the opportunity to do that. So
what a fun, like, packed filled month for you.
Yeah, it was a busy summer for sure. So yeah, we had to actually change this record date to accommodate that trip. So kind of a lot, went on. But yeah, it's now we're into makeover season. So now it's just put my head down on work time again. So
well, at least you got an actual vacation. Like, sometimes that's the benefit of not having a horse show season. You can like enjoy other parts of life.
I have to say, yeah, like that's been the tough part, right? Like adjusting to not showing. Like I feel kind of bad for like the show organizer because we got pretty close and like our show friends. And then part of me is still in that mindset of like, I'm wasting my horse. Like the jobber does not believe he's being wasted. Like that is very much a human thing that we put on the horses.
Astra has never loved retirement more. It's her favorite job.
Right. Like the horse is fine. so yeah, that's just a human thing that we apply on our horses. But yeah, I've done so many other things this summer and I still have other things that I'm packing into this summer. And it's actually been really refreshing to do other stuff. Hashtag off-duty horse girl.
Yes.
We all got to do it. So how about you? You have not had a lot of vacation recently.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not vacation. So it was more of just like getting a chance to like focus in. I'm still very much growing 2 children, which has been honestly not the hardest part of the summer.
Oh,
which I'm very grateful for. Like, it was a very good second trimester. I'm now on 3rd trimester. They're doing great. They're just happy babies, which is super fun to follow their development and kind of interact with them more. Because like if you poke them, they'll like kick back at you, and like I feel a relationship with them. It's fun. But because I can't not have some level of chaos in my life, I got a puppy.
That's fine. You needed another baby.
I need it. So I have triplets, is what I'm telling people.
Basically.
But honestly, she is a stellar puppy. Like, she's so wicked smart. She's another German Shepherd. Her name is Yursa, which means wild little she bear. And she is the moment. She is a lot of personality. Very different than my last Shepherd.
Which is good though, I think, right? Like we always try to like, you always think like, oh, I'm going to like recreate, and you never can.
No.
So sometimes it's nice when they are a complete opposite from the last.
They're 100% opposite. Like, she is very on. She loves to learn. And I almost forget she's only 9 weeks old. So while we're recording this, she'll be 10 weeks on this coming Saturday. But yeah, she's only roughly 9-10 weeks old, but she already has a lot of her basic obedience down. She's just like an eager beaver to learn anything and everything. It's almost harder to like get her to shut off and just be a puppy and play. So in some ways it's really nice because we can do so much. In other ways, she's very intense.
Yeah.
But she loves water. So like we set up like kiddie pools for her. So if you follow me at Misfit Mare, you would see like her kind of learning about the world and different things like that. She loves going for walks. She enjoys just everything outside, which is super funny because again, Tova was the opposite. She was an indoor girly and she would watch Netflix and just like be left to the air conditioning and be like,
yeah, she was like an apartment dog, wasn't she?
She was. And like it was perfect for that timing. Currently had to tire this one out to podcast safely because I'm like, I don't think we have the attention span to let me do this.
Well, thanks, Ursa, for letting this episode happen.
Yes. And she's talkative. She talks to you all day, which is very interesting too, because she like has little grumbles and we think she's learned how to say the word no back to us.
Oh, good. That's good training for when the twins eventually learn how to also say no.
Yes. But it is kind of cool to see some of her like herding traits start to come out. So when she's tired of outside, she picks up her leash and walks you back to the house.
Oh.
And I'm really hopeful that will transpire to herding my children. That is what I
shepherd them back to the home. I love that.
Yes. So that is what I've added in. And then we are prepping for baby shower, getting the nursery done. I actually went to Churchill Downs during vacation, which was super fun for a bachelorette.
Oh, good for you.
Party. It was fun to teach non-horse people how to bet. That was very fun. And some of them won, which was great.
Oh, even better.
Yes.
That's what keeps you coming back. That's also why gambling is addictive. So
it is. We all set a budget. I mean, everyone set a budget with cash only. We were responsible.
There you go.
No, it wasn't $50. It was $20. Perfect.
I was so aghast that time. I really thought you were like a big gambler.
No, I mean, I do it for big races because I enjoy it, but like just going out for the day depends what I'm feeling, to be honest, but I won't go over 50.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We're having a good time for sure, but it was hot that day too. And I'm like, go to 20 and see how you all do.
Yeah. And then if we run out of money, we can go home early.
Exactly. Which actually worked out because a huge storm came in after the fourth race. And I was like, great.
Time to go. Yeah.
Dying in this heat.
Yeah. Yeah, you're no longer built for the heat.
Yeah, but it was nice because I think it brought like a new perspective because they've heard of racing. They might have watched a couple show or racing on TV, but they didn't really understand like the level of care like the track was trying to put in to protect horses. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool to be able to share the steps that I've taken over the last few years. Because they're like, well, why does it take so long? Like in between races, like safety, like
right.
And like even asking questions about how the horses stay cool and like getting to see the horses being immediately rinsed down and like the love and care that all those horses got. So it's nice to bring non-horsey people to the track to experience that and be able to talk about it.
I love that. I don't think horse racing actually gets enough credit as like the gateway for a lot of people because it is accessible. It's not as accessible to show up to a horse show and be like, is this fun to watch? Like racing is exciting. Mm-hmm. It's short. So like for our increasingly short attention spans as people, like it works. You're only watching for 2 minutes and then you're on to the next one.
Social.
And exactly. It's a social thing. There's like a fashion element now, on big days anyway. And it's like, but you get like that first front row, firsthand experience on how these horses are cared for. And I do think that racing deserves a lot more credit as kind of that gateway or entry point for a lot of people to get to horses that have no access otherwise.
Yeah. So what we're trying to say, listeners, is invite your non-horsey friends to go to a race with you if you're near a track. I would also say polo, if you're by a nice like polo club, could be another fun one for them.
Good point. We need Neil to come back on. That man loves to introduce people to polo.
I know. I was sad because we were going to go to a polo event in Michigan. It's, what was it called? I think it's called like Mares and Margs or something like that. It's one of the annual summer polo matches in Michigan. So we were going to go. And my husband decided he had appendicitis and needed emergency surgery. So we did not go.
I like that you make it sound like he decided.
I know. I really like to give him a hard time about it. No, I mean, obviously no one plans for that, and he's fine. He's doing great now post-surgery. But he was super, super bummed because he was so excited to go to the polo.
Oh, and he seems, I've been following, following his updates. It seems like he is maybe chomping at the bit a bit to get back to the gym.
He's the worst patient.
Listen, it was nice of him to not wait to do this until after you had 3 babies on the ground.
100%
on the ground. God, I sound like a horse breeder. Sorry.
Well, I mean, honestly, it feels that way. So I'm good with it. I'm not offended, but
oh dear. Okay. I just have to add that disclaimer in case anybody else is offended.
If Zach was on stall rest, the amount of drugs I'd have to use to not die.
Oh my gosh. He would be chewing at the bars of his enclosure for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. He wouldn't be the ideal horse to get injured for sure.
No, he would be on the long-term sedative. Yeah.
Yes. Meanwhile, me, I'm like, oh, I'm injured. I have to stay home and I can't interact. No big deal. So
yeah. Put my feet up for a few days. Don't mind if I do. Oh, Zach. That's funny.
But yeah.
Oh, Joy, one more thing I want to add. So I know you got your start in horses in Arabians, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And at the ranch so when I went out for this vacation, we stopped in at the ranch where I used to work out west and kind of used that as our base camp. So that way, if we didn't show up, they could alert the forest rangers that we were on a mountain somewhere at the end of the trip. But the ranch breeds Arabians, and some of the horses that I used to ride were still there, even though it was 15 years ago that I last worked there. So I was wandering among the herd, and I was like, I think this is one of my old horses, and it was. And she's like very much a stately old lady now, and was like, just looks sort of like benign and sleepy. And then another horse got too close to her, and she was like, I'll kill you. And I was like, oh, this is the same mare. So I got to reunite with Wajir. So it was very nice. But
they're just
Arabians,
so
man, they live forever.
They do. And like, they remember people. Like, Arabians will always have a special place in my heart. And not gonna lie, should my children become interested in them, that is probably the horse I'm gonna end up getting for them.
Listen, we promote the retired racehorses here at Retired Racehorse Radio, but we are equal opportunity equestrians. So,
yes,
you do you.
Also, there's retired Arabian racers. Like
this is true. Actually, I had a friend who used one in Montana on a cattle ranch.
Yes. So, hey, there is no discrimination, but yeah, that's where I got my start. They brought me up, and I mean, they're an amazing breed they were bred to live in the tents of their owners. They're very people oriented. So
yeah,
they're good with children for the most part. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Love it.
Yes. Well, I'm excited because we're going to be catching up on all things makeover. It's been a hot minute since we've talked about it. I know listeners have had the chance to follow during our break, but it's been a minute since we've talked to Sam. But before we get into that, we are going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
Does your performance horse have sore, stiff muscles? Does he lack energy or tire quickly during exercise? Does his competition schedule require travel? Studies show that horses in regular training and those with limited access to pasture often require additional vitamin E. They also show that horses being trailered even short distances can face immunity challenges. Elevate Natural Vitamin E can help. A research-proven, powerful antioxidant, Elevate maintains healthy muscle, nerve, and immune functions. It does this by delivering a highly bioavailable source of natural vitamin E that is preferentially absorbed and retained in a horse's tissues. For more information, visit kppusa.com or call 859-873-2974. Well, Joy, it is the even or the odd numbers? It's the odd numbered episodes we get to talk to Sam, which has been a lot of fun this year. I've learned a lot. I know you've learned a lot. I think listeners have learned a lot. And Sam, it's been really fun to have you along for your whole makeover journey. So thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're kind of getting down now. It is early August. This is actually coming out in early August. We are kind of caught back up to ourselves again. Final entry is open. It is time to kind of make decisions for the makeover, which is always exciting, but also a little scary. So how are you coming along? I know you had acquired a second horse, right?
I did, yes. I got another horse from Long Run named Ottawa. And unfortunately, the day that he came to me, he got his feet trimmed a little bit too short, and he was pretty sore. So despite getting some shoes back on him, I just decided last week, like, I'd rather just really give him the time to grow the foot back out and keep him eligible for next year.
That's a good idea. Also aptly named to have a horse named Ottawa up in Canada. So that's fun.
I thought that would be neat as a Canadian rider. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to get them all decked out, like with some Team Canada gear for next year. That'll be fun. Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye out for him. Hopefully he'll have a good fall and winter, and he'll be ready to hit the ground running for next year.
Yeah, he gets to just be a freeloader for the next couple months.
That is a little tough, though. Right? Like when you have a business, it is hard to keep horses around that long.
Definitely. It does cut into the profit at the end of the season, if there is any. It's horses, let's be honest. I think most of my retraining horses for the makeover is just genuinely because I enjoy doing it and I love competing at the makeover. So I don't know that I've ever actually really made a good profit or successfully sold some of them because I've kept a lot of them, but that's all right.
Well, we can all have hobbies. It's fine. Fun. Well, best of luck to him. Hopefully he gets back on the right track. I'm sure he will under your care because you do such a lovely job.
Thank you.
So that means, it's just going to be just Ferda then coming down to Kentucky.
It'll be just Ferda. And I won't lie, when I saw that they're opening up the clinics to previous makeover horses, I kind of been thinking to myself a little bit, well, maybe Haley needs to come back down to Kentucky again. That's what I call Canton Comet. And maybe do a clinic with her because I don't want Ferda traveling alone.
That would be, first of all, like I would love that because I really liked Canton Comet when we saw her, and the nice thing with that clinic opportunity. So just to catch everybody up, if people are like, what are you talking about? So we added clinics at the makeover last year on Friday, which is the dark day of competition between preliminary and the finale. This year it's changed now to a championship format, but either way, Friday is still a dark day, but we're maintaining those clinics to provide an educational opportunity for any trainers who, maybe their week didn't quite go to plan with their horses and they want to end it on a good note, get the horse over the show course again. And that's under coaching and guidance from the judges who are serving as clinicians. So of course, anyone that's coming back for the championship round is ineligible to participate, so they don't get extra schooling time with the judges because that would be not fair. But, for everybody else, it's open. And we've added clinic space this year for makeover graduate horses to, keep the education going beyond. So that would be really cool if you can bring her down.
Yeah, it's rolling around in the back of my mind.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, because, and the nice thing with these graduates too is a lot of them have gone on to, some higher levels. So we'll be able to see them do some pretty cool stuff. So it'll be neat to see Haley doing her thing.
Yep.
Okay, I'm a fan of this idea. So in case you needed more people to encourage you, we say yes, bring her down.
Awesome.
Love that. So yeah, today, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you structure your training program. And obviously no two training programs, even with horses in the same program under the same trainer, are going to look the same. But it can be a little daunting, right, to get a horse ready for the makeover, because back in December, you're like, well, I've got 10 months. That's, depending on your personal philosophy, that's either a ton of time or like so little time to get a horse ready for the makeover. So how do you like to structure... Yeah, there's choices there.
Yeah.
So how do you, generally speaking, for horses in your program, how do you structure, a progressive program to move them along?
I mean, at this point, final entries just opened. So we really need to have a idea of what divisions we think the horse is going to be ready for, even if you're a little bit stuck like me right now, where it's been a little bit slow going and I still have to actually get her jumping under saddle and also going off property. So this is definitely a little bit of a wild card moment for me because I have a general idea after spending the last 10 months with Ferda of where she probably is going to be in the next 2 months and what will be most up her alley based on her personality and how she goes. So I definitely am looking at entering her for show jumping because that's my jam. So that gives me some confidence that, even if she's a little bit green still at that's something that I can step up and kind of help her cover that gap a little bit. And then I'm a little bit stuck between maybe doing dressage or coming up with some sort of freestyle for her because she is a little bit behind of where I would like them to be. So at least with the freestyle, I can kind of plan something that's really, lined up with where she's at this point in time and gives us something a little bit different to work on maybe. So I'm kind of like, for example, for show jumping, we know what the rule book says. We know that we have our flat test. We know what the flat test is. So that's something that I spend a lot of time doing flat work with my horses. And that's something that I'm now starting to kind of introduce into her, maybe not daily, but into her weekly riding routine. I'm starting to play with elements of, making sure that we get a nice halt, making sure that she can walk to canter on either lead. I definitely, closer to the makeover, I'm looking a little bit at refining, like, well, I know that, maybe they pick up the left canter lead 100% of the time, but the right canter lead 50-50 or, better or worse, depending on where you're at. Then, you're going to start off on the left canter and vice versa. You start looking at, well, what's an easier lead change for them? Do they have a lead change? But starting to work on that pattern is going to let me know over the next 60 days, like how I can best display her capabilities and how she's developed. And then, of course, the gymnastic. I mean, that gymnastic is pretty much what all of my horses, when they start jumping, they start playing with. Like when she has her first under saddle jump school, hopefully this week, now that the smoke has cleared and everything like that, then we'll be introducing her to that gymnastic and seeing where her comfort levels are and what we need to kind of, sit down and maybe we need to change the game plan a little bit, but definitely introducing elements of what I know they're going to be tested on, and then kind of going from there.
Awesome. So now, like, I know when I was looking at this as, an adult amateur non-pro trainer, I was like, oh my God, like 2 months, like that's not enough time at all. But, for a professional with a lot of experience and a balanced program, you can get a lot done in what's essentially 60 days. So, obviously, again, horses being individuals, you don't really know exactly how it's going to go, but what can you reasonably kind of expect to develop in the next 2 months, do you think?
I think, yeah, that's a good question, because I think that's really dependent on the individual horse as well, and like how fast they learn. Right now she definitely is still a little bit tense on her flat work. I don't expect that to all be gone in the next 60 days. Now I've been pleasantly surprised before by some horses and what they can do in 30 to 60 days, but I know that she is one that carries a little bit of tension. So even if I get that out of her at home, I think that it's probably going to still exist in a show environment where there's a little bit more of an active atmosphere. So things like that, I definitely am thinking about, in terms of like starting to educate her on jumping. I like to do a lot of gymnastics, so I don't really get to too much coursework until they've got a pretty good idea of how to like trot in nicely, set like with a placement rail, stepping over that placement rail. Are they using themselves well over the first jump? How are they landing and taking the next step? And how can I keep improving that? Because I do think that especially with thoroughbreds, when we give them the chance to learn how to jump without us micromanaging everything for them, you get a horse that's going to think a little bit more for themselves on course, and, is going to start to kind of be able to eye up the jumps a little bit. And when you have a combination on course, like you're not going to be worried about like, oh no, I got so deep to the first one. Are they going to be able to fit a stride in? Or I left long. Are they going to be able to fit it, like make the stride? Or are we going to be doing 2 strides, whatnot? Just you're able to educate them quite a bit on this is how you should be using yourself. And I'm going to stay out of your way and let you figure that out. And then when I start stringing together single jumps, it feels a lot easier for them, I think.
I love that. And this is really speaking also to being, savvy as a competitor too. Like, you mentioned like, okay, you're going to have a plan, to work with her tension. And imagine that even goes into, how you maybe approach the warm up, or like, how you navigate the horse park. What all goes into it? It's not just like how they do in the show ring. It's managing the whole like kit and caboodle.
Yep. And yeah, really figuring out like when I start getting her to some off property stuff, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get her to like an overnight show in September at Caledon Horse Park up here. So it's not Kentucky Horse Park size, but it's quite a large showgrounds. And so, I'll be able to see like, is this the type of horse that getting to go and hack around calms her down, or does that actually make things a little bit worse? Like, do they need to go and stretch their legs on the lunge before we go and work in the ring? Or is that going to get them too fired up? Do we need to just go do some groundwork and just move their feet a little bit and get them thinking? I think, again, each horse is kind of individual, and I'm not big on trying to just lunge them until they can't think it straight anymore because they're so tired, because I don't think that that's actually educating the horses. And I think most thoroughbred owners can attest that your thoroughbred can go on the lunge for quite a bit of time. So
that doesn't do anything, right?
We're just making them fitter at that point.
Right.
And like you said, like once you get to the horse park, I like taking them out and walking them around and letting them see as much as possible, and figuring out like, okay, in what areas do I maybe want to take them around a little bit more, like where they're going to be competing, or do I want them to just go adventure and see the world? Really depends on the horse. I've had some that I felt totally happy and confident in going out hacking alone on Friday out in the cross country fields. And then I've had some where I'm like, no, I'm going to stay close to home. We're not quite ready for those adventures yet.
Yeah, we don't need to go out and have too much adventure.
Yeah.
Fair. Love that. So yeah, and even coming down to, like the flat work pattern. So, again, if you're new to the makeover and you're not sure what we're describing here, the tests at the makeover are designed to not only sort of showcase the discipline, but also to provide kind of a level assessment of the horse's foundation of training, because it is a retraining competition. It's not just a horse show. So in show jumping, which is Sam's focus, they're going to come out and they do a little bit of a flat pattern first. Then they will demonstrate a gymnastic, which you can probably describe this much better than me as like the token Western person, Sam, exactly what a gymnastic is for other listeners like me who keep their feet on the ground.
Yeah, so a gymnastic is basically so-called grid work sometimes. We're just looking to help kind of teach the horse how to use themselves and learn how to develop scope. So I think that, like I said, I use that. It's a 9-foot placement rail, I believe, to an X, and don't 100% quote me because I haven't read my rule book in like 6 months, but it's usually 21 feet to a ramped oxer at your set height, whether that's, they changed it to meter denominations this year, but in previous years, 2 foot 6, 3 foot, or a meter. I believe it's 0.75 or 0.8 meter.
Yeah, my American to metric brain does not quite translate that, but we were trying to be more in keeping with the rest of the world that measures the jumpers in meters.
I gotta go reread my rule book to know the exact heights, but
yeah, that's about where it's at. It's 2.6, 2.9, or 3 foot. So those are the,
so I like
the rough
using
options.
That. Yeah, I like using that exercise because you're trotting in, the horse has the placement rail helps the horse kind of set themselves back on their hind end a little bit so they can kind of rock back and curl over that first jump and then take one stride. It's at 21 feet, so it's not a very forward distance like you would normally see on course at the show when you're cantering. It would be set at 24 feet most likely for a one stride, but that 21-foot stride is going to help some horses that maybe aren't landing and coming forward in the canter as well to kind of learn how to come forward without, if it's set at 24 feet and they trot in and they make a mistake, then it's either going to be like really, really rough 1.5 strides or a very tight 2 strides. So that 21-foot kind of allows for that range and how the horse is using themselves. And there's also, some very big, lanky type thoroughbreds that come in, and that 21 foot is very, very snug for them. At the same time, though, as a big horse, that's going to kind of teach them to rock back and use themselves a little bit better through the gymnastics. So that's what a gymnastic kind of is summed up, I guess, is we're just trying to educate the horse to use themselves a little bit better and develop better footwork and thinking ability.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, and that's where that comes into that retraining competition base is, we kind of want to see the horse through the various stages. Because jumpers typically being a timed event, either ridden for optimum time or just for speed, has that tendency a little bit like, barrel racing, which is also timed, of just like, go fast, go fast. We want to make sure that people are giving. Right, exactly. And it's the same thing in the barrel racing. So they also do a horsemanship pattern, which is not judged like a Western horsemanship pattern, but it is judged much in the same way as that flat work pattern, that they just want to see the foundational training to make sure that that horse, has both leads, is soft in the bridle, can flex laterally, and kind of do all the things that a good barrel horse already knows how to do. But it's just to make sure that everyone is spending their time on their basics and not just running at the jumps or running at the barrels. So that's where it differs a little bit from a conventional horse show, but that structure, of course.
Thank you for mentioning that about the kind of how the jumpers can tend to just be pedal to the metal. Yes. And I actually had a conversation back in 2021 with someone about this when they kind of asked me, like, why do you think that you're not going against the clock? Why is it optimum time? And I said, well, like you said, this is a training competition. So we're not only trying to showcase what the thoroughbreds can do and what they're capable of, but we're trying to develop horses that are going to go further than just a meter or a meter 10. Maybe not everybody, but for me as a professional, like that's what I'm kind of looking for. I'm looking for some horses that are going to be able to go higher down the road. And I really think that riding optimal time is very good for both riders and horses, because you're going to learn what that 350 meters per minute should actually feel like. You're going to learn what your optimum canter should be for your horse. And that's going to help you develop them down the road. If you're just going in the early stages and you're trying to win and you're going against the clock and you're running around as fast as you can, like, I think that everyone could probably envision what like 140 10-month retrained off-track thoroughbreds would look like if we were against the clock for the jumpers, and it would be really scary and it wouldn't be setting them up for the future. So that's actually one aspect that I absolutely love about the makeover, is that that is factored in there. Like, let's set them up for the future.
Right. Yeah. I mean, ideally, like everyone is approaching this with the same mindset, that you do of like, this is a stepping stone. And yeah, I think we do a good job of kind of maintaining that attitude, in the trainer group and in the trainer literature and the webinars and everything of like, this is one part of your journey. The makeover should not be your be all end all goal. It is a really helpful way to structure that first year, and give you a good goal to work on, and I think a challenge, but not an impossible one, right? To get a horse jumping comfortably around 2.6 to 2.9, or, comfortably handling like a ranch trail pattern or like a basic field hunter course. Like, I think these are adequate challenges, but they are challenges. It's not super easy. It's not for everyone. It's not for every horse. So,
exactly. And as we've spoken before in previous episodes, like, I'm always listening to the horse. And if I think that something's not going to go well, then, I'm going to listen to that. And sometimes that's gotten me taking them all the way down to Kentucky and, just not being able to do what we thought that they were going to do. Or sometimes I've gotten them down and I'm like, wow, that horse really stepped up and handled the horse park way better than I thought they were going to. So you just never really know.
And that's the fun / frustrating. I mean, that's horses, right? Like, we can talk, we can have episode after like, how do you structure a training program? Like, where would you like to be at this point? Where would you normally be in a normal year? And you'll get there and it will be completely different.
Write it down and then like rip it all up, basically.
Yes. If that's not a great advertisement for the makeover, but that's exactly the process. You're like, you never know what's going to happen until you get there. And yeah, exactly. Some horses get there and they're like, I have arrived. And others get there and they're like, oh my God. So yeah.
I am overwhelmed.
Yes. The other thing I think about, when you talk about like, what if we had 140 horses just going like balls to the wall on the jumpers? The rails at the horse park, if you've never been there, the arena rails are like 6 inches tall. So I'm just picturing horses just straight leaving, like just right over the hill. Yeah. So yes, we seek to avoid that. And I am excited because, we've increased our outreach to the racing industry. We're getting more racing industry people to the makeover than ever. So of course, we also want to showcase the equestrian world to the racing industry well, to say like, these horses are in skilled hands. They're going on to neat things. So yes, we love having trainers like Sam who know the best interests of the horse. So wonderful.
The truth is, if you can pick up your rhythm and you can keep a good rhythm the whole way around your horse, you're going to be faster anyways. Way faster than people that are careening out of control and ripping on the horse's face through a turn and going 10 strides wider than somebody that can just land and turn, So rideability is very important.
This is almost encouraging me to be like, maybe I should take jumping lessons again. Sam makes it sound so fun. So
for sure you could.
Yeah, maybe I'll like just bring all my gear and get a crash course from you at the makeover. Yeah, this is exactly what I just said we weren't going to do. So never mind. We're going to showcase the horses. It's going to be great. We have had people like offering us. No, some people have been like, hey, do you guys want to catch ride my horse in a clinic? And some of us are like, well, now hang on a second. So it's tempting, but no, I don't need to do that. But now I'm just curious, right before we wrap, if you do freestyle, what like, do you have a plan or is it a secret?
I would have no plan. I would be flying by the seat of my pants on that one. So
do you have a song? That's usually where people start, is a song.
Yeah. In 2019, I was waitlisted for dressage and the suggestion was like, well, why don't you could do freestyle and you could just ride a dressage test. And so that's definitely been in the back of my mind. But the horse that I had that year, Hemin and Han, I would ride him with my dog like alongside me very often. And my dog would just trot around and like somehow he would know if I was going to circle. He would just kind of pause and let me circle around him. And then he'd continue like jogging or running along behind us. And so that was kind of my plan. I was like, well, if I don't get into dressage, maybe I do like a pas de deux with my dog.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Listen, a good trail riding dog is way underrated. Like dogs that just like hang out with you, but don't get in the way and don't get run over. That's the peak equestrian experience. I love that.
He was slightly problematic for that because he would like run into the forest around the track and then just like pop out somewhere randomly.
That is free training. Thank you, dog.
Yeah. Free desensitization.
All right. I am just going to put this on the record that I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of freestyles and dressages set to ordinary by Alex Warren. So you heard it here first. That is my prediction for 2025. I think
I'll
that's going
have
to be
to
the
look
hot
that up.
song this year. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got. Sam, thank you. That was another fabulous conversation. I think our listeners, I know, are getting a ton out of this, and so are me and Joy. So thank you so much for joining us. Remind us one more time where people can find you on social media.
Meraki Equestrian on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Oh, the TikTok. I gotta remember the TikTok too. We'll give you a follow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Sam. Best of luck making that final entry decision. We'll catch up again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much.
Cashel has been crafting top-notch products since 1986, designed to make your ride safer, more convenient, and downright enjoyable. From the Crusader Fly Mask, the ultimate fly mask, trusted by riders nationwide, to the blanket top performance felt pad with pressed felt with merino fleece. It's like a spa day for your horse's back. To the beautiful beaded halters, adjustable, durable, and gorgeous. Visit CashelCompany.com today and gear up for the ride of a lifetime. Cashel, where quality meets the saddle.
Recharge your training program with Equestrian Plus. Equestrian Plus brings together the top riders, trainers, and professionals onto one video platform. Watch over 5,000 how-to training videos, clinic and event footage, exclusive training sessions, and more, featuring top experts including 5-time dressage Olympian Stefan Peters, international Grand Prix dressage competitor Anna Buffini, Olympic dressage team bronze medalist Laura Graves, and many more. Join Equestrian Plus now and use promo code HRN15 for 15% off your first month. Visit equestrianplus.com to subscribe.
Well, it is that time of the episode where we bring on our partners from New Vocations. And today we have Bridget Heasley from the standardbred side of things. Welcome back, Bridget.
Hi, guys.
It is always great to have you. How was your summer? How are you surviving? We're now in August, the thick of it.
We're melting. We're melting a little bit. It's been a long and toasty summer, but it's okay. We're getting through it.
Yes, it's been quite a hot summer. Not the summer to necessarily wear a lot of makeup unless you want to melt it off or you want horse sweat and kisses all over it. But yes, it has been a warm summer for sure. But I have been enjoying seeing all the posts you've been putting. You have a lot of standardbreds coming out.
Yes, lots of nice standardbreds right now.
Very exciting. We will get to our adoptable horse, who is just newsflash, adorable. I know we say it every episode, but it seems like they get cuter every single time. But speaking of, the dog days this summer, keeping horses hydrated. I know this is the time of year we have listeners going out to show. There's people bringing horses home for the first time who are adjusting. And it is so critical to keep everyone hydrated when we have temps like this. I mean, all year round, but especially in the heat. What are some tips and tricks that you do in your barn to keep your horses hydrated, whether they're the thoroughbreds, standardbreds, or whoever?
Yeah, I mean, outside of your basic, cleaning the buckets, because horses, as much as we would like them to not be particular, they, want things the way that they want them. So as long as, things are clean, if you're still struggling with getting them to drink enough, making sure that they are getting adequate salt. And our standies and thoroughbreds both really like the Himalayan salt licks that we hang from their stall, as well as the lick-it style treat holders. But those are also have lots of salt in them. If you've ever licked them, like I might have licked them before, they're very salty.
Who hasn't, right? Who hasn't?
It tastes like banana and salt. Cool. Those will definitely prompt them to drink. And then if you've got horses that get picky when you go somewhere, maybe they drink really well at home, but they don't drink super good at the horse shows. A couple tricks we like to try is that we'll start by adding electrolytes to both their feed and water at home, like the week before, so they get used to having that electrolyte. And you might have to play around a little bit with what electrolyte flavor your horses prefer. I like the powdered stuff that smells like cherry Kool-Aid personally, but there are a lot of different options. And then sometimes even as simple as making sure your horse has the same color bucket at the horse show that it does at home, because I have a horse here that will not drink out of black buckets. It can be any other color, but it cannot be black. It will not drink water. It doesn't matter what water, it won't drink it out of the black buckets. So keeping in mind what your horse's personal preferences, no matter how weird they are, might be.
Horses are weird. Like,
They
I don't
are.
like that color. I mean, to be fair, like I have a coffee mug where I'm like, no, the coffee tastes better in this one. So like I get it. But
Agreed.
also,
Agreed.
yeah,
I didn't
like
you do go
right.
through favorite mug when I just you, but like people in general, like I do it too.
Yeah.
I love it. So like standardbreds as a breed, like again, I always say this every time. I'm like, my sample size is one. I have one standardbred, I have two thoroughbreds. But like the thoroughbreds, they're great drinkers. And I don't think Wes is a bad drinker. It just seems like he just needs less water. And I can't figure out if that's a breed thing or it's just a personal thing.
I think there's a little bit to it being a breed thing. My thoroughbreds do tend to drink their buckets like dry and save nothing and then act like the world is ending, where my standardbreds tend to be a little more conservative. I joke that they have a little more self-preservation. But I do think that is a legitimate observation.
Yeah. And I wondered if that was like a physiological thing, like down to like the standardbreds tend to have better stamina than the thoroughbreds too. So I don't know if those are related or that's just me being like, oh, surely those are related. And I really have no idea.
And they metabolize feed so differently too.
Right.
I wonder if there's a component there as well. But no, I agree. I tend to think that my standardbreds don't drink as much, and they don't drink it with as much urgency. It
is a very casual. Yeah. I'm like, I'll just sip it. It's fine. Like, gosh bless. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on a kind of related note, but like maybe not quite the same, are you dealing with a lot of wildfire smoke this summer?
We have not had as much this summer as we did the past 2 summers. We've had a little bit of it, but in the 2 years previously, it seemed to, I live in kind of a valley, and those past 2 summers, it really seemed to come into the valley and just stay there and just hang in the air. And we did modify a lot of our work times with the horses to, do early mornings or late evenings to avoid that wildfire smoke because it was heavy and thick.
Yeah. We've had like some hazy days, and a couple days where you're like, oh yeah, you can smell the like burning plastic smell. That's really gross. And obviously we don't ride on those days, but it's one of those things where in my mind, it's kind of related, right? Because it tends to be like the hot, humid, slow days where there's just no air moving. And that's why that smoke tends to linger. And I have to imagine that encouraging horses to drink more in those conditions is helpful just to sort of keep flushing everything through.
I would think keeping all of that moving through their system would be ideal.
Yeah, good to know. Well, hopefully you stay pretty clear. We've had some funky days. How about you, Joy? How is it up in Michigan?
Hazy.
Yeah.
It's quite hazy, but that is okay. We have had better days than last year, but there have been some days where the horses only got groomed, got checked on, and that was good enough for the day.
Right. And same for us too. Like we don't need to be working hard when it's like that, any harder than you already are just by having horses, which is hard enough.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Love it. Well, thanks, Bridget. Bridget, tell us about tonight's adoptable horse of the week, who I think Joy is maybe going to take home.
She's very cute.
Yes, it is the lovely Catch the Cheer. She is a 3-year-old daughter of Catch the Fire, who he's kind of a hot stud here in Ohio right now. He was the winner of the Adios Pace in his 3-year-old year, and he had one of the fastest Little Brown Jug prelim times that same year, although he did not go on to win the finals. But just really super nice horse. And again, very popular. She is from his first foal crop. And unfortunately, she did not get her father's speed figures, but she is a big, pretty mare with a really great personality. And just like the best kind of big curious baby. Like she just wants to see everything and be involved in everything. And it just makes her a real joy to work with and to train because she just soaks up information like a sponge.
I love that. It's exciting to have like from the first crop too, right? Because like you don't have anything else to compare it to. Because I always love like the bloodline part of me loves to nerd out, when you're like, ooh, this is, and I can't remember any off the top of my head, but you're like, this one is a really good line. And now we're like, we don't know. So she's sort of blazing the trail for all of them, which I think is really cool. She is very
Yes.
cute.
Yeah, she has that big question mark stripe down her face, and it's just adorable.
Yeah, she has a very inquisitive face, which I think is quite nice. Not that most standardbreds don't, but sometimes they just sort of have like that, like sort of old wise look.
Yes.
And she has that like younger, more like, oh, I am ready to be your friend and learn things together, which is very nice.
Yes. I do love like how she looks at everything though. I know that would deter some people. They want them like 100% focused, but she's not spooky. She's just kind of like, what's this? What's that? And like, I think curious horses are so much easier to train because their brains are on.
Yes, I think so too. I like it when they want to know what's around them and what are we doing and why are we doing this. I think in the end, you get a more reliable horse because it didn't just do it just because it learned why are we doing it in essence.
That's a good point, Joy. Like Jobber is a very inquisitive horse, and it is very fun to work with because they want to go forward to new things, which is great.
Yeah. It feels like you can actually have a conversation in the saddle with them versus, I don't want to say pulling teeth,
right?
Making that very dramatic. But when they are like amped to learn something or see something for the first time, like I feel like you have less explosive horses. You have that partnership comes together really fluidly, especially if you indulge that curiosity. So I think she's going to be a really fun project for someone. And her stride is lovely. She really steps under herself nicely.
Yes, she's very, very cute. Someone is going to have an awesome project with her. And like, don't be afraid of the mare thing. She's a very good mare. There's no bad mare behavior there. She's just as sweet as any of our geldings.
Love it. And only 3. So like really ready to go in any direction, folks. So
she looks more mature in the videos. Not going to lie, Bridget. She's a lot more mature in the videos in a good way. Like you can just tell, like she's got that lovely, like stoic look in a way that standardbreds have. Or Kristen, how do you describe the wise look that they have? Yes.
But I'm trying to make the phrase "look of owls" catch on. It's not going well so far, but compared to the thoroughbreds' look of eagles, so we'll say that.
Yeah. I like look of owls. I will do my best to promote that.
Let's make some t-shirts. All right, we're gonna get some RRR merch going in here. Love it. All right. So remember, folks, get your application in because you can only take these horses home with an approved application and they go fast. So we got that tip once before. If you have your application, it's good for 2 years. So get it in, have it ready, and then you can move on horses like Catch the Cheer.
Well, thank you, Bridget, for joining us. Until next time.
You're very welcome.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow the network on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at The Horseback Writer. My email is kristen@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, and Equestrian Plus, and to our partners, New Vocation's Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show as it helps us grow. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And always, cowside leg.
Bye, guys.